Hello and welcome to this presentation of BA Hon's Graphic Design at the University of Portsmouth. My name is Sarah Houghton and I'm the course leader. Okay, so I'm going to lead with the statistics because we're rather proud of these. Firstly, our employability statistics. So after 6 months after leaving the course, employability is 93% go on to work and study. And importantly, employment 6 months after the course is 100% in a professional or managerial job. Student satisfaction is 98% and has been for the last few years. The teaching on my course, again, is up in the 90s, 98% staff are good at explaining things. These sorts of stats feed into things like the University League tables. This one's from The Guardian. Portsmouth is in third place for design and crafts. So what they do is they take our student satisfaction, feedback, staff-student ratios and spend per student, and they put that together into a league table. Okay, so as a student of graphic design, you'll be based in the Eldon campus, which is part of the Faculty of Creative and Cultural Industries, and you're in the School of Art, Design and Performance. So on the Eldon campus, we have a range of different facilities that you'll be able to use. Now, our students have their own dedicated space, which is our studio, which is located in the basement at Eldon at the moment. And so students use these spaces. This is very empty, but students use these spaces to work in, and we run workshops in them. We also have a presentation room and our own computer suite that you can use. In the studio, we have different equipment. So this is, the top left is called a book loom, which is where you would stitch loom. You can stitch when you're doing bookmaking. Top right is something called the Cricut machine. We've got a couple of these. Students use these all the time for creating interest within their work. The bottom left is the book press. And again, this is used for perfect binding books. The bottom right is our Caslon foiler, and we've got lots of different coloured foils. Students love using this in the studio. So the studio culture. So the way we use our studios is very flexible. So this is Dan at the top left talking to a group of students about their work. And on the top right here, you can see a variety of different workshops taking place. We've got a photography workshop happening, and we've also got a cry cut workshop, and this is within promotion and employability. The bottom left is just when the students use the studio to do their research or make their work. We're really lucky that we've got access to a letterpress room, and this is really quite important in terms of learning how to set lead type and how that then feeds into how you learn how to do things on a screen. So things such as the word leading come from actual lead in between the rows of type. And I'll show you some really nice examples where students have used letterpress and digitised it in their final work. We teach our students how to bookbind. This is quite important. You can really understand how you would send something to print to a printer to be bound if you've done it yourself. So you get to learn about things like how much space you need to leave around the pages in order for you to bind them. So screen printing, again, we're really lucky to have a screen printing room. And students often use screen printing to add different things such as fluorescent inks or things like gloss onto their work, or just using screen printing. And these students here are learning how to screen print cyan, magenta, yellow and black yellow, and they're creating the black from those colours. The Eldon Production Centre is the workshop that we have within the Eldon building, and here our students tend to use the 3D printing, the milling machine and the laser cutter. And on the bottom left you can see there how a student has laser cut into cardboard, and on the bottom right is an ampersand which they've cut out, and actually they were going to use that for letterpress. The open access Mac Suites and digital printers, we have a whole range of printers and expert staff to help you. So the ones that you can see on the bottom there are the large format printers, so you can sheet feed that with your own paper stock. We also have dye sublimation printers, which you can print anything onto things like mugs and different surfaces, and risograph printers, which are a bit like screen printing but digitized, and I'll show you some really nice examples of risograph later. We teach our students in design, Illustrator, XD, After Effects, and Photoshop, and also Sketch within our modules, and I'll show you where and when that occurs. We try and bring the outside into the university. So we have a range of external speakers over the years. So whilst you're here, you'll get invited to these different speakers. So in the past, we've had Mark Ovenden, I Love Dust, and Precedent, Alan Kitchen, and Font Smith. And we're trying to get in people like John Barnbrook, but David Sheldon Hicks and Kingsley Nibechi, who are in the top right there, these are ex-students of ours. They were going to come give a talk, so they will be here next year. And Kingsley quite famously designed the Murky logo. To talk about those two later too. So we take our students outside as well. This is Bruce in the top left here. He works for I Love Dust. He's an ex-student. And so we take our students on a studio visit there. We've also visited Supple Studios and the collaborators as well. On the bottom left here, this is the students at the Bauhaus. We take a trip to Germany each year, to Berlin, with the photography students, and then we take a trip down to visit the Bauhaus, because we feel that quite a lot of history of graphic design emanates from there. On the right-hand side, you can see at the top David Sheldon Hicks and Kingsley Nibechi, and I'll talk about those guys later. But these are ex-students that they've came to our London show, and I've profiled them. With Industry Liaison, this is Precision Creative Print and Finishing in the top left, and they bring down all of these absolutely beautiful print finishes and paper stocks to show our students. So it's really inspirational, but also you can see how far you can push the medium. On the top right, we've got Sky Creative, and what they do is they invite our students each year to take part in a Sky Creative Insight Day. We have quite a few ex-students working for Sky. They have a whole business park with Sky Creative and Sky Digital and Sky News and so on. And Laura went to work at Sky News and did all of the graphics for the presidential election. On the bottom left, this is a collaboration with Strong Island and the RSPB, who came in to brief a short project for our students about the wetlands in Farlington. And on the bottom right, this is Mimica Touch and Dyson. So Dyson came in and briefed our students, and they did a week-long workshop within the intersemester break. And Claire, who's in there, actually now has a job working for them. So I'm just going to now talk about the structure of the course. So each year is 120 credits, and each module is worth 20 credits. I'm going to go through some of these different modules for you. So the first one that you'll do is something called Introduction to Graphic Design. And this module, we look at the history of graphic design. We give you a series of lectures. So we've got modernism and postmodernism in the digital era. So see where we're placed within that. And we give the students somebody to investigate and research. And so these students were given Jonathan Barnbrook to look at. So we give you a library induction, and this helps you to be able to get through of the indexes within the library and find magazines and books about the person. But we also teach you how to use the internet for effective research. During this module, we'll teach you InDesign. And InDesign in this module is InDesign for digital output of an interactive PDF. And you work in teams too for this. And these are 4 slides of the final presentation from those students. In typography and layout, again, we'll be teaching you InDesign, but this time it's for print-based output. We teach this through a number of different workshops. So one of them is that you will keep a type diary, and we look at that and try to make distinctions between what that type means. So on the bottom there, you've got the Milky Way Magic Stars packet, but also we'll compare that to the Extra Power Pain Reliever caplets in the way that the typography is used and appeals to a different audience. These things are then put on the top right here, which is the good, the bad, and the crimes against typography wall, where we start to make distinctions about what good type is. And that's usually that it actually effectively communicates to its target audience. The bottom left is a grid system, so we get you to draw grids that exist already, and then you'll learn how to create your own grid. The outputs for this module are a poster and a book spread, a magazine spread. And we put parameters within that. So you have to have an A2 portrait poster just using 2 colours in typography, and see how creative you can be within that. And on the bottom right there, you can see Mike telling one of the students to turn their poster around so that it's what we asked for. And here's some of the outputs for that. So this is the poster, and on the right hand side you can see this magazine spread. The other thing that you'll learn on this module is letterpress, and as I said earlier, that's quite an important one so that you can understand how to set type. Research-informed design thinking is a module that runs throughout the year. We don't teach that much software within this, but what we do is give you masterclasses in Photoshop. So with this module, what we're doing is we're looking at design thinking. We're looking about how designers communicate messages to their target audience. So we'll have a look at semiotics, which is what things mean and how we interpret them. We look at communication theory and the design process. How to undertake visual and textual research. Now, one thing we do get you to do with this is inductions. So we have inductions into screen printing and inductions into the workshop. So this student was looking at Portsmouth water. So she collected water from all over Portsmouth, and she was thinking of different ways that she could show that in her final piece. We ask you to make an amazingly different piece of graphic design for this. And you can see she really went through this whole process. She learned how to use the laser cutters and cut out all of this perspex and glued it together and filled it with water. And so this was her final piece of 3-dimensional graphic design. Information design, the students are now learning Illustrator. So Illustrator is used for, we use it in this for drawing pictograms. So they're asked to draw a set of pictograms. What we're really looking about here is a data set on sleep patterns in animals. And on the right-hand side, you can see all the different ways that you could take that data and visualize it into an easily understand, comprehensible manner. So this is perhaps more interesting than the standard pie charts or bar graphs. And here's some of the outputs for that. So really quite sophisticated posters about sleep patterns in animals. Screen design motion graphics. So in this module, we'll teach you how to use After Effects. And we ask you to take a short story, which is Ayana by Will Self, and design and create content for a movie sequence. And so within this module, you'll also learn about sequencing and storyboarding and how type works on screen. Okay, with year 2, so again, it's this very similar structure with 20 credits per module. And I'll go through some of those with you now. So editorial design, this really builds upon what you were doing in the first year with typography and layout, but this time we're looking at type for continuous reading. So this would be within books, and how can you create that type that continues to engage the reader? So we use InDesign to set it up in a very different way than you would for a poster. So we're looking at all those different pages. There's a lot of image making within this module and paper stock. So we have our paper suppliers send in lots of samples for you, and you're using all those different paper stocks and understanding how that works. And of course, you'd learn how to bookbind within this module. User experience design, we have an excellent ex-student who works as a UX designer, and she comes in and delivers some of the key workshops to help you understand about UX. So it's really the process that we use to create designs and provide meaningful experiences for audiences. And we look at the entire process, including branding, design, and usability and function. So the students are using Sketch for this at the moment, and we'll see how XD does in the future, but industry is currently using Sketch, so that's what we're teaching. So halfway through the course, this is we reach ethical design. So what we say to you is, you've got all these skills that you've learned over the past year and a half. So what could you do with them? What could you do with them that you want to do as well? We run a series of lectures and workshops looking at the designer's role in society and how graphic design can make a difference to the world. And we can look at global solutions, or we can look at something on a more local level, and you as a student identify that yourself. So this is Andre's project on negative stereotyping. So he wanted to change people's perception of people who wear hoodies. So the other thing is that the students are asked how they're going to get their message to their target audience. So often this could be a range of design collateral. So that would be both through print and digital media devices. Branding and identity is a group project. So the students come together and they create, on this one, they were creating an identity for their own graphic design company. And you can really see here how the letterpress rooms played a big part in what they've done. So they went to the letterpress room and then they scanned in those images and applied them to print. Again, we're looking at paper stock. We're looking at how well your identity works across different devices. So they have to make something that works across the web and across paper and print. So I've talked a bit about live design briefs earlier on. So this is the RSPB and Strong Island brief. So it's a short brief that they came in to brief the students to kind of get them up and running with this module. And you can see here again the use of the letterpress on the right hand side, but also the use of the cry-cut machine. So the left hand side, all of those birds are actually cut out of paper and they're three-dimensional. It's quite difficult to see it on that screen, but it's a very beautiful piece of work. The main thing that we do on this module is the YCN, and these are some of our winners that we've had over the years. So I'm just going to show, this is the YCN set briefs every year for students. It comes out in a beautiful book. So if you win it, you become part of that book, so you become published. And this goes out to across the whole country. So here's some of our winners here. So this is Lauren on the left for Yahoo. This is Jeff in the middle for J2O. And this is Megan for the Fedrigoni brief. And they had this really lovely ceremony in London, which is a great thing to do as a second year. We always encouraged our students to enter competitions. In this one, we encouraged Will, who was a first year, to enter the one show competition. So by the time he was a second year, he was featured on television with his designs for toilet doors. And he's now a junior designer at Free Jam. In between the second and third year, you have the option of taking a sandwich year. There's lots of opportunities. We have quite a few go out each year to do the whole year, but also most of our students in between year 2 and 3 over the summer break do take that opportunity to do an internship. We've got a wonderful creative careers department with lots of job opportunities for you to undertake. So moving on to the third year here. Again, it's still 20 credit modules, but they're kind of lumped together a bit. So you've got major project in graphic design in total is worth 40, and professional practice across those 3 modules is worth 60. And then you have visual culture, practice, research, or dissertation. So you can choose whether or not to do a written dissertation or a practice-based one. So this is a practice-based dissertation, and this is Anna, and she did a dissertation on spinning a yarn, so it was about fairy tales. And you can see here how she stitched and she embroidered onto the paper into these beautiful illustrations. The report is on the bottom left about how she made this and what her theoretical content was. When we were at our London show, Tiger Print absolutely loved this, and they are, in essence, Hallmark cards, and she still freelances for them. So major project in graphic design, again, is a self-proposed topic area that you choose. And this is Gibo. And Gibo was really keen to look at football for his major. He was a Manchester United fan. And he visited Manchester United and Arsenal and tried to interview the designers there. But what he was really interested in was the semiotic visual analysis of the football kits and the logos and the crests and what they meant. So he decided to create a series of posters, but also an interactive website called Kitnet. So this was the show where we put this up. He was shortlisted for the Southwest Design Awards for this work, but also what was really lovely was on graduation, he emailed us to say he'd got an interview for an internship with Manchester United, and then he emailed us the next day to say he got it for 3 months, and then 3 months later he emailed to say he was still there. So that's fantastic for Gibo, his dream job. Okay, Hannah was really interested in sea shanties, and these are the songs that sailors sing to wind in the sails and wind in the ropes. And she was interested in how that movement could be visualized. And so she asked her friends to go to the mocap suite, which we've got at the university, and simulate what that winding in would be. So you can see here they've got these little bobbles on them, which is where this is captured. And she made these wonderful, I'll play you this one. She made these wonderful visual graphics of the movement by tracking how people moved. She decided to leave the kind of ghost people in there to give it some context. And she made, I think there were 6 of these, and this is the one for the pump shanty. She won the John Barrable Award for most innovative use of new media, and also the Strong Island Award, which was awarded to most interesting work. And our local MP really wanted this to be exhibited at our dockyard. Design studio practice is a module where we really learn about the business side of freelancing. So we run workshops in how to scope briefs from clients, how to cost the job, how to write terms and conditions, how to negotiate with printers and outsource that printing, but also things like tax as a freelancer. And this student worked at Boxmoor Social Club. So what she did was she asked to do the job to rebrand them, and they absolutely loved this. So this is now on their embroidered onto their shirts and part of their overall identity. The students are paid for this work. And the other thing that they do on this module is they take the Adobe certified qualifications. So we're a certified associate, so we can take the exams in Photoshop, InDesign, etc. And we do really well in this. And unbeknown to us, Adobe actually collect the results from this from all over the world because the tests are done online. And they invite the top marks of the country to go to a final in London. And this is Thomas Shave at the Adobe finals in London, winning the UK championship. And the prize was to go to Disneyland in California to the world finals. And we've just been told we've got another student that's in the final this year. So promotion and employability, this is where students create their self-promotion materials, and we run workshops on CV writing and how to look for jobs, how to professionally take photographs of your work. And here's a great example of the use of the risograph that I was talking about earlier, to create a really vibrant identity for itself. And here's another one. This is Megan's. So you can see here the use of paper stock. So she's used pink and green, and then that buff color. And she's used the laser cutter to cut through. So the top left there is a piece of pink paper cut through to a piece of green paper. And then on the bottom of that is the buff paper. So they're sandwiched together, and that's called a triplex. They also make a website. So they've got a whole range of different things, a website portfolio. Design briefs and competitions is where we really do enter large-scale competitions that students across the country enter. This is for the RSA, the Student Design Awards. These are more ethical projects, an ethical approach to design. And this was Tony Lamb's, and what she did was she was looking at how we could use less paper. So it was a paper pledge idea. The main thing that we do in design briefs and competitions is the International Society of Typographic Designers. And what you have to do is you have to answer one of their briefs, and you send it away, and then it gets marked and comes back on whether you've passed it or not. So it's an additional qualification. So you can see here in the studio, the students creating their large printouts of their book spreads. This is a lovely example from Lucy, which was about letterpress. And this is where the students have created their letterpress. She's then scanned that in, and then she's used it within her book. She's also used screen printing to create the gloss here on the bottom left, which is onto tracing paper. So you've got this lovely layering going on. And then she's used different coloured papers to create the tip-ins. So really vibrant and beautiful piece of work. This one was about tennis. So this was Claire's. And what she did is, we're really lucky that we kind of share our buildings with architecture. So she was able to get this grass for the cover. And also we share our building with fashion and textile shoes. So she was able to go in and use the embroidery machines there for the front. So in the inside, so you've got the tennis ball there. That's from a kind of fluffy type of paper stock, and it pops out. You can't really see it that well. So she got her ISTD for this, but she also entered it into the Southwest Design Awards last year, and she was the overall winner of that. And Claire now works for Dyson. So the ISTD, sorry. Okay. So this is somebody called Sam Barkley's book, and Sam was looking at dyslexia. He was dyslexic himself, and he said he wanted to be able to explain how it felt to be dyslexic to other people. So he made this wonderful book and a series of posters, and he was future pioneered at the London show by the Design Council. And everyone encouraged him really to publish this book. So what he did is, when he graduated over the summer, he put together a whole campaign, a Kickstarter campaign, and you can see this on our website. So this was the campaign, and he wanted £14,500 to meet his goal so that he could print the book. And he actually got 55,500 by the time it had finished. Now, he was featured on the Daily Mail, on Creative Boom, on It's Nice That, Medical Daily, and he was interviewed on the Huffington Post television. He's now in his third publication of this book. So I'm going to talk a bit about alumni, or our ex-students now. This is Sarah Matthews, and Sarah got a job straight away from graduating at Aardman Digital, and she still works there now. Within 6 months of getting that job, she had won a BAFTA for her work on the Tate movie website, and then work for The Deadly Planet. This is her grommet that they auctioned off for charity. I think they raised 2.3 million, not from just that one. So David Sheldon Hicks, who I was talking about earlier, that came to our shows, he set up something called Territory Studio, and he's listed on IMDb for screen graphics on the film Casino Royale, Prometheus, The Dark Knight, Number Station, Zero Dark 30, etc. And they were selected as one of the top 6 agencies in London for the cut and paste collaboration. So we often forget that on-set graphics, somebody has to design them. So, you know, they often become invisible. So we see things on the TV that we don't realise have been designed by a designer. So things like hotel brandings on films and airlines, etc. One of the main things that he's become really well known for is the Blade Runner 2045 graphics. And you can find him online talking about that. He's going to come and give a talk over the next year, so hopefully you'll get to see him. Mark Graham set up a company called I Love Dust with another student when he graduated, and they have quite a few of our graduates have worked for them over the year. They're based in Portsmouth, just across the road from the studios. They're very famous for Red Bull, MTV, Nike. They've done things for Beyonce and Jay-Z, and here they are at Monaco Grand Prix. Kingsley actually went to work for I Love Dust for a while whilst he was in his 3rd year, and he designed the Murky logo for Stormzy. He's a fantastic illustrator, and this is the cover on the bottom right there, which is for the Guardian Weekly, which was a cover that responded to 6 writers were talking about the Black Lives Matter protests. He does a lot of things for the BBC as well, and again, very friendly towards the course, and is coming to speak. He came to our London show to talk to students, quite an inspiration for a lot of them. Shane Horn is another graduate. So when he was working for Saatchi & Saatchi, he was on the Apprentice final. So this is Leah Totten. I think she had a cupcake business. So he was advising her on her branding for that. He was also, he told me this wonderful story about the Lucozade, pink Lucozade campaign. So what he did was he put himself in as a placeholder when he pitched for the job with Lucozade. And then when it came to actually do it and they wanted to commission a model, Lucozade said, no, we actually want you to be in it. So he ended up being in his own campaign for Lucozade. At the end of the year, we have a show in Portsmouth. So we clear the studios out and we turn it into an exhibition space. This is really a wonderful celebration of the year. And I think we had 2,000 people through the door on the private view over the years last year. So this is Tristan from Strong Island awarding our students with Tristan and Paul. They award our students each year with a prize for best in show. We also take our work to London. So in the middle at the top there, you can see an empty space. And this is what we arrive to in the morning. And then 4 hours later, we have to have the whole show up and done. So it's quite exciting. Students absolutely love it. We get to stay in London for a couple of days, just off Brick Lane. So when we've put the show up, we then leave. Everyone gets to leave the place, and the judges then go around and they put on stickers on people's work. So these stickers are really prizes, and this is on the top right there, you can see Yolanda's had absolutely loads of stickers on it, and here's her on the bottom left. She was actually offered a job by Jimmy Choo, and on the right hand side at the far end, this is Simon. He was offered interviews for Versace. So lots of things happen because of the London show. This was last year's. So what we did was we had a theme where we took a bit of Southsea Beach and we reused everything. So everything was reclaimed, reused from pallets. Absolutely wonderful day and a fantastic way to celebrate the end of the year. So if you do want to follow us on social media, we have a blog through Tumblr. The main things that we really use are Instagram and Twitter. So if you have a look here, this is Tong Hock, who's been finalised in the Digital Student Awards for the Southwest Designs this year. So if you want to keep up to date, that's where to do that. So I hope this has given you an overview of the course, but please do look on our course page and the university website for any further information. Thank you very much.